Life is either entertainment or a deeper meaning, featuring the hero's journey. Nowadays, entertainment has become a basic need. The reason for this is we don't enjoy what we do in life, and we desperately try make up for all the things we don't have. But not everything can be compensated for, and it is a characteristic of wisdom to not do desperate things. So alternatively to being desperate is, if you can consistently be at a place of learning in your life, you will have a good chance at not being at a place of ignorance. That is what learning is there for, to keep teaching you life lessons. A large amount of learning life subtleties comes in the form of entertainment. Stop and think about what the biggest storyline genres you have watched in movies, sequels, or series, or even anime. Entertainment shows a comparison between different sides of the story, and more importantly, we get to understand the bad side of the story a little bit better. How do you explain life lessons without forcing someone through the lessons literally? You give them a story to show them what they are potentially missing in life. This is a specific character's persona that I will reveal why chaos exists in the world. This is an example of a popular character in superhero movies, specifically DC Universe, that we can learn important life lessons from. Okay, what character is this? Nothing is taken critically until someone is killed. Lessons not learned in blood are soon forgotten. You have become complacent and lack the sensitivity so that when life warns once, you are not able to respect the first and only warning. This is the Joker from DC Universe. If somebody doesn't know who the Joker is, how do you explain the moral of the story without the character? The answer is you cannot. You can only explain by comparison. Do you know Batman? This is his rival or arch enemy, so on and so forth. The movies are not about superheroes or fictional entertainment. They are stories to help better understand ourselves, stories to better understand conflict with ourselves. So when you watch comic book superheroes in movies or read novels about these forces of good against evil, the feeling of admiration for these figures and how their actions can bring you to tears. This is a metaphor to show us our highest potential. In the act of doing something heroic or valiant, we see for just a glimmer what our lives should be about. To know things about ourselves that most people don't discover, to know how smart you are, not just how smart you are in comparison with others, in what ways are you smart, what you care about. There is a well-known story that shows a deeper meaning in our lives without wandering aimlessly in life, and it is called The Hero's Journey. Joseph Campbell, whom came up with the whole concept of the hero's journey, an American mythologist and scholar of comparative religion, who was one of the inspirations for Star Wars. This hero's journey is a very illuminating thing to understand, as the story begins by seeing the hero in his everyday, ordinary existence. The story was derived from a Hindu philosophy in India called Vedanta, about the pursuit of enlightenment. Knowing others is wisdom, knowing yourself is enlightenment. This story was made to be a metaphor for discovering ourselves and to be able to recognize what certain things meant along the way without getting confused by the overwhelming reality of life. At this point, the individual is not the hero yet and is living in the village and is approached with a call to action, a window of opportunity that is presented, a choice that tests whether you really want to go on the journey or not. It is something new and radical that comes into this person's life, which calls them to go on this new experience. And of course, what does the hero do? He naturally refuses because life already has enough obligations as it is. He is finally forced to accept this call to action. So, like classic Star Wars, what happens to get Luke to go on the adventure? The stormtroopers had killed his family and destroyed his home and didn't really have any other choice and nowhere to go. And then forced to go take action by extraordinary circumstances. The hero goes on a planned faraway destination, and it is the same as driving for the first 100 miles and getting a flat tire. This is the first so-called threshold guardian, a force that stands in the way of major turning points of events. This tests whether you really want to go on the journey or not. When most people face this first obstacle, they tend to have a defeatist attitude and they go back home. But the hero acknowledges that there is a larger vision here. He knows that there's something bigger and better he's moving towards. Maybe he succeeds or fails. If he fails, he needs to go and find a mentor that will train him in the ways of a metaphoric battle. Maybe give him some secret weapon, a magic potion, some kind of armor or shield, some sort of amulet. In other words, something that will serve him as a tool on this journey for overcoming all the tough obstacles that will be ahead. The mentor resembles taking a look into history. People who had the exact same questions that now have answers to. So he finds this mentor, gets the training he needs, and then he goes after more threshold guardians. And with the advice, he is able to get ahead, go further, way further than most people would have gone. This is an important point. Who is the mentor really? Well, of course, a hero from a past generation, usually a wise old man or woman depicted in a story who has already gone through this journey. Now they are there to give advice and support to new heroes, should they come about trying to accomplish the same things. Finally, this new hero in the making has to face the final boss. A boss is a well-known gaming terminology, which could be something like a dragon which guards the Holy Grail or the elixir of life, something quite rare or valuable at the end of this journey. For story's sake, this could be something to save a princess at the top of a tower, and she is the Holy Grail. But metaphorically, the Holy Grail is truth about life and death and the purpose of life. Usually what happens in the video game, there are minor bosses before the final boss. The sole purpose for these sequence of trials before fighting the final boss is so that you don't only have one attempt at a chance of maybe getting yourself killed. This resembles not trying to do everything at once. The psychology behind it is the less room you have to beat yourself up about failing, the less you tell yourself, why bother trying at all? It also assists in giving you a rough estimate of how much more improvement you will need so you can be well prepared the next time. So in this metaphoric battle, you may also be overly offensive but have less defenses. This means if you're focused on one area of life, it usually is at the expense of other aspects of survival that you're automatically rejecting. The final boss resembles paying attention to a subtle part of life, whether you like it or not, forcing you to be selfless, something more than just yourself that is made a priority in everyday life. But the reality of fighting this final boss ends up being much harder than you thought. You have to swallow your pride and push your ego aside, live to fight it another day. It resembles taking things for granted even though you are prepared. The sheer appreciation for whatever the situation was not actually enough. The hero goes back to defeat the boss once and for all. Although still vigilant as ever, this could take many tries, and being overly confident could be his downfall. What the hero needs is an acquired humility over the years to avoid complacency. So of course, this resembles positively reinforcing a rare consistency to avoid mediocrity, reinforcing small progress with reward, and never giving up into the overwhelming emotions of it all. The hero moves on and is eventually victorious, ecstatic at acquiring the Holy Grail. Now, it is very interesting what happens at the end of this journey. There is a sort of 180-degree reversal in understanding of what the Holy Grail was all about originally. Thinking he would defeat his final obstacle and acquire the final prize, or all the riches and jewels, or something of the sort. Something so undoubtedly that he would be content and happy, achieving what very few have. But he realizes with time that the Holy Grail wasn't the point of the end. It was not even really about the journey. It was coming to terms that he could be doing something different his whole life, realizing how long nothing can change without ever being aware. A deprivation from something greater, feeling cheated in a mediocre world because he thought life was a journey, a means to an end, when there was not any end at all. The hero returns home to his village to share the lessons that he had learnt, but of course the irony here is that nobody can comprehend his lessons because they have not gone on this journey themselves and are stuck in this complacent collective group thinking. So when he tries to communicate his teachings, it unfortunately falls on deaf ears. This resembles in real life that you're not able to convince people of the truth, and mostly what there is are average people sharing their beliefs without any real experience of their own journey. And the subtlety of the Holy Grail or truth is why future students of the mentor cannot simply get all the answers. An issue of not wanting to give you false hope because the teacher cannot guarantee that you will get it straight away or even fathom it. The hero is labeled as an outcast to the village because what he now knows threatens the normal way of life. And if a member of the village had to realize there was a greater journey to be had, abandoning their family relations or attachments would be needed to proceed on this hero's journey. The roles can be reversed, whereby the heroes are the ones being outcasts and the villains who maintain the village status quo, or vice versa. This is a metaphor for being so sure what you're doing in life is right, when it is actually an ideal you are chasing or some kind of influence you're under. In most cases, it is also just simply pride that you have never gotten over. The hero then retires, and he is now available to any new generation of potential hero from the village that decides to learn the truth. Although it is a rare thing and rather unlikely, and so in a sense the circle completes itself, and this sums up the story of the hero's journey. Now, The conclusions and closure of the hero's journey is this. Village outcasts and the community maintain a selfishness to some degree. That is all evil really is. We hold heroes and villains as remarkable because they have summoned something higher within themselves, sacrificing themselves, their ego, their selfishness. It is breaking loyalty with yourself and others to do what must be done no matter the cost, which is a metaphor for accepting your nature over serving yourself in life. It is one of the most counterintuitive moves you could make. What if there's a real fundamental conflict in the sense that you cannot have both the truth and to serve yourself? If you want to live truthfully, you have to give up yourself completely. Or if you cling to your ways, then you can never have the truth. This resembles a common cliche about where one draws the line that separates you from being just as dangerous as the bad guy in movies. This is depicted as little old men or hermits retired because the Holy Grail has left them speechless and peaceful, which is a metaphor for removing yourself from the game of good and bad entirely, because being labeled bad only means being different from the majority. Society is collectively pure villainy, a part of the crowd among the unknowing masses, the herd of humanity who has an opinion about everything. It is default psychology to feel insignificant in life, the need to hold on to the little you have that connects you with the world. Evil or bad can be as simple as, even if you don't understand the truth, it is better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So the hero's journey, and a subtle life lesson as well, shows us there is a type of person that says, I'm going to wait till I feel like it before I take action. And then there's a person that says, I've got to do it so that I feel like it. For one, you will never get anything done because you're still waiting to feel the moment to move. And the other person that says, no, I need to move, and then I will begin to feel the moment. And so I will leave you with one final quote. Man's greatest strength is more than not having to do everything on your own, more than being able to do or be whatever you want. It is the ability to acquire insight from other people's experiences, which is a subtle difference from acquiring knowledge from beyond ourselves.